if we're talking about legendary moments, I'll rephrase it to like most well-known moment for me was definitely when I was 13 years old and won the X Games and got a Guinness Book of World Records for that, and yeah, that jump-started my whole career. I don't consider myself legendary. Like, I don't, you know, I consider myself a student of the game of skateboarding. I started where everybody starts on a skateboard, knowing nothing, not able to do anything, and I pushed myself and I learned and I listened to other skateboarders how to learn tricks. And then skateboarding comes down to you. How willing are you to put your body through the ringer on concrete to like succeed? And for me, I was very willing, and I'm still that willing today to break my body off in pursuit of this like feeling that lasts for anywhere from 5 seconds to a minute. When I land these gnarly tricks that I've set my mind to and been thinking about for years, and I finally land it, that feeling lasts for 5 seconds, maybe a minute. If it's really gnarly, I might get a minute. And then it goes right back to this like, okay, what's next? And that's where I'm at. I always live in that like, what's next? I keep moving, I keep skating, keep getting injured, keep healing, bring it back. It's this like epic cycle of pain and joy that I'm like obsessed with. Most legendary dad moment for me would be for sure like setting my 10-month-old on a skateboard just to see what would happen, and she figured it out and started pushing on it and like going up and down the hallways. And that was pretty special. But I guess if you even rewind it, like the legendary moment was like my wife giving birth to her. My wife is the legend by far. Like childbirth is so beautiful and so incredible. But all the injuries I've been through like don't compare at all to like how strong my wife was giving birth. So the legendary moment goes to my wife. I guess the legendary moments in my life, like they're cool, but they don't mean anything to me. Like being a dad is the most legendary for sure. It is the hardest job I've ever had by far. It's the most rewarding. There's a love that you can't even explain. Dads know, parents know. It's unexplainable, honestly. It makes sense. That's how I can describe it. Like it just makes sense. Like I've been waiting my whole life to be a dad.
When you think about legendary, it's not all about accolades. It's not all about the wins. It's not all about accomplishments and striving. It really is, I think, about how you make people feel. I've always tried to be legendary. I've never really focused on being legendary. I just try to be the best version of myself. I know I'm going to fall short. I know I'm going to stumble. I know I'm not going to be perfect. But ultimately, if the way that I live my life makes people feel something and it wells something up inside of them, that's how you truly become a legend. The first fight in the UFC, after I knew I took a huge risk on myself and bet on myself, there was a lot of pressure, but I didn't really feel it. You know, I felt like I was doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing. I was right where I was supposed to be in that moment. And to go out and get that quick finish in the first round and the backflip and the post-fight speech and then getting my hand raised, it was exactly, couldn't have scripted it any better. And that's when you know you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And that's when you know taking a risk, taking a chance, and betting on yourself really pays off.
How have legendary moments shifted now that you're a dad?
You know, I think when you're young and you're single and it's just you and you're just doing it for the wins and losses, or you're doing it for a paycheck, or you're doing it for the notoriety, it seems like it means a lot because it's what you're focused on. But then you get married and then you start bringing children into the world, and you are in charge of another human being. You are in charge of their happiness. You are in charge of their belief in themselves. You are in charge of providing for them and putting a roof over their head and putting food in their bellies. And I always just talk about this masterpiece that I get to paint, you know, every single day, every single training session, every single way that I live my life is another brushstroke on this masterpiece that I'm painting for my children, that someday they'll be able to learn who I am, not because of what I have told them, not because of what YouTube shows them or what my fights show them, but what other people who I've impacted are able to tell them. And now day to day, spending the last 10 years of marriage with my wife, the most amazing human on this planet. Her work ethic is second to none. She has this ability to unwaveringly love me and our sons, while also somehow handling her workload and all the pressures of this life that we have created with so much grace. And I have a lot of great people around me, and I've been surrounded by legends that have made me the man I am today.
I would say the most legendary thing that's happened to me is winning Hell's Kitchen. It's definitely something that changed my life. It put the trajectory straight up, and it's been the most impactful thing so far. Staying behind that door, the only thing I felt was just nerves. I felt like everything was on the brink. Like that was the one moment that was going to change everything for my family and for my career. And I was doing everything I could to not just kind of turn that handle just to see if it was going to move. I knew everything was on the line. So that moment, man, it was just a ton of pressure. That's all I felt was pressure. Legendary moments before I was a dad really was all about me. It's what could I do? What was going to make me a better person? What was I going to do that could further myself? Now it's capturing these moments with my kids and my wife, knowing that your time with them is not infinite. It's going to go away. You know, you heard the statistic that 90% of your time with your kids is done by the time they're 18, and that just lives in my head. And so trying to create these moments that stick with us forever. We play Uno every night. Hopefully Uno will be a legend to them one day. And that might not be a good legend because I always win, but I'm happy to raise losers so they know that they have to beat me and they have to earn it. But I think it's, you know, creating those moments that live in their minds that will make them better husbands and fathers and humans one day. That's legendary. The meaning of life changes. You're not just a solo creature on this earth to protect yourself. You've got a family to take care of.
Anybody in Hell's Kitchen out in the next city, you're just stacking up the papers.
Yeah. There will, you know, I've always had the feeling that if you're able to be a blessing to someone and you're not, I don't understand what the point of being blessed is. It's important to take care of those around us that have less than us and that are in need. And food is one of those things that nurtures your soul. It's a universal language. Everybody needs food. Every moment in our lives, happy or sad, is surrounded by food. If you're at a funeral, family and friends bring food to comfort you. If it's a birthday, you have a party. If it's a wedding, you have a reception. Food is it's the thing that binds us together. And when I'm able to do it for people that don't have the capacity to get it on their own, I don't know, there's just something about being able to give back that, you know, it feeds my soul.
I mean, last year's Eddy was the best day of surf I've ever seen at Waimea. It was epic conditions, giant waves, and in the afternoon heat I had, it was like one of the funnest surfs I've ever had in my life. Ended up finishing third, which is highest place in Goofy Foot ever in the Eddy, so stoked about that. Get one down for the Goofy Footers.
So then when you heard that announcement of you getting called up for your third place, what kind of your head?
I was just so happy with the day. I didn't even think about placing the whole time. I didn't want to really ruin the moment. It was just such a good vibe with all the people that I've known, you know, my whole life and looked up to from a surfing perspective and seen come up, you know, since they were kids as well. It was just kind of a surprise what I finished as. Legendary moments, there's a lot that I mess up. Good thing I got a durable kid. Or else I'd have to send this one back. The whole process is so fun. You get to do all the things that you loved as a kid. You get to be the conduit to introduce somebody to things that you loved and still love. I just think it's such a privilege to be in the position of being a parent. And whoa.
And the moment you
First thing I thought was, I hope it's not the FedEx guy. And then I was like, I hope it's a boy. No, I'm kidding. No, the first things that I was shocked and excited when I heard I was going to be a dad. It's something that I've always wanted, but I, didn't know if it was ever going to happen. Yeah, it's just a pretty amazing experience. And the whole time you're just like, can't wait to meet this person. My dad impacted my life greatly. A lot of my blueprint comes from him. I'd say work ethic, trying to be straight up and honest with people, and yeah, just liking to, just a love for the ocean and getting out in nature. Yeah, he's definitely, I'm very fortunate that I had my dad, that he was the one that was my dad. He was perfectly cut out to deal with me.